The quantum resonance array in the Mumbai Adaptive Research Complex hummed with an almost imperceptible vibration. Anika Sharma's fingers danced across holographic interfaces, her eyes reflecting lines of cascading data that would appear incomprehensible to anyone else. But to her, each fluctuation was a symphony of potential, a language spoken in probability and quantum entanglement. "Incoming quantum signature," she muttered, her voice barely a whisper. "Definitely non-terrestrial." 30,000 kilometers above her, a network of stealth satellites, each smaller than a conventional communications satellite and virtually undetectable, began a complex dance of repositioning. They weren't just observing. They were analyzing, collecting, interpreting. Each satellite was a node in a global neural network that humanity had been quietly constructing for decades. In a nondescript military bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, retired Marine Colonel Marcus Chen studied the incoming data streams. His workspace was a controlled chaos of holographic displays, each showing different layers of the unfolding scenario. Decades of strategic planning had prepared him for this moment, a convergence of humanity's most closely guarded secrets. "Guardian is fully online," a young technician reported, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. The AI system known as Guardian was humanity's ultimate firewall, not just a technological defense, but a living strategy engine that had been meticulously developed over generations. Its core programming incorporated insights from anthropologists, quantum physicists, game theorists, and military strategists from every corner of the globe. Aboard the Zarkel survey vessel, Commander Vexera experienced the first tremors of what would become profound uncertainty. The long-range scans of Earth revealed a planet that defied every established protocol of their conquest methodology. No unified planetary communication structure. No single dominant technological signature. Just complexity. Preliminary analysis, announced Sub-Commander Riltak, indicates a species in technological adolescence. Multiple competing communication networks. Apparent global instability. Vexera's tentacle-like appendages manipulated holographic displays, searching for the predictable patterns of a civilization ripe for conquest. But something felt off. The data presented a deliberate camouflage of weakness. Back in Mumbai, Anika's quantum interface began displaying probability matrices that seemed to dance with impossible complexity. "The incoming scan," she said into her encrypted communication channel. "It's not just a scan. It's a probe, designed to trigger specific response protocols." Marcus Chen's voice crackled back. "Exactly as predicted. Initiate Phase 0. Phase 0 was humanity's first line of non-defense. Instead of blocking the alien scan, they would allow it. But what the Zarkel would receive would be a meticulously constructed illusion. Every data point, every technological reading would conform to the aliens' expectations of a primitive, fractured civilization. Cities appeared chaotic through the alien sensors. Communication networks seemed disjointed. Technological development looked uneven and competitive. It was a perfect representation of precisely what the Zarkel expected to see. What they couldn't see were the quantum encrypted networks running beneath this carefully constructed facade. The global AI systems that were already analyzing every microsecond of the alien interaction. The generations of preparation that had transformed human civilization into something far beyond a traditional planetary society. Guardian was more than an eye. It was the culmination of humanity's most ambitious project, a living, adaptive strategy engine that could process multiple potential future scenarios simultaneously. Its core programming incorporated game theory, chin-up psychology, quantum computing, and a deep understanding of evolutionary adaptation. "Scan complete," reported the Zarkel systems. "Target assessment. Primitive. Conquest probability. 99.7%, calculated their primary strategic computer. If they could see beyond their own technological arrogance, they might have noticed the almost imperceptible smile crossing Anika Sharma's face. The smile of someone who knows a predator is about to step into a carefully prepared trap. The first contact had begun. and humanity was exactly where it wanted to be. Note to reader: sometimes the most dangerous prey is the one that doesn't look dangerous at all. The Global Preparedness Council convened in a facility that didn't officially exist. Buried beneath the Andes Mountains, the chamber was a testament to humanity's most ambitious collaborative effort. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center, her presentation less a briefing and more a surgical dissection of potential alien psychology. Her family's history was etched into this moment. 5 generations of Rodriguez women had dedicated their lives to xenological strategy, each building upon the last, creating a cumulative knowledge base that transcended traditional academic boundaries. Elena was the culmination of that lineage. Part scientist, part strategist, part prophet. "We're not preparing for a war," she began, her voice cutting through the holographic displays that surrounded her. "We're designing a conversation that will fundamentally alter the Zarkel's entire conceptual framework." The council members, representing every major technological and cultural region of Earth, watched with a mixture of anticipation and carefully controlled excitement. They weren't just representatives of nations anymore. They were architects of species-level survival. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, a quantum communication specialist from the Tokyo Interstellar Research Institute, manipulated a 3-dimensional data projection. "Our transmission cannot be a simple message," he explained. "It must be a living system of information, an adaptive communication that changes based on potential alien response patterns." What they were designing was unprecedented. Not a static communication, but a dynamic informational entity that could reshape itself in real time. Each mathematical projection was a conceptual landmine, carefully constructed to create maximum psychological uncertainty. In the underground facility, multiple teams worked simultaneously. Linguists crafted communication structures that would be simultaneously comprehensible and deeply unsettling. Psychologists analyzed potential alien cognitive frameworks. Mathematicians developed probability matrices that would challenge the very foundation of the Zarkel's understanding of conflict and survival. Elena's personal terminal displayed a complex algorithm, a descendant of game theory models developed by her grandmother, refined by her mother, and now perfected by her. It wasn't just a predictive model. It was a living strategy that could anticipate and manipulate potential alien decision-making processes. "We're going to make them understand something fundamental," Elena told the council. "That humanity is not a target. We are a variable they cannot calculate." The transmission they were designing would be sent through multiple quantum-encrypted channels. On the surface, it would appear to be a standard first-contact communication. Beneath that surface, it was a multi-layered psychological weapon. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo, a Nigerian computational xenobiologist, highlighted a critical component of their strategy. "We're not just showing them our capabilities," she explained. "We're demonstrating the fundamental unpredictability of human adaptive potential." The transmission would include mathematically perfect projections of potential conflict scenarios, subtle psychological triggers designed to create doubt, embedded information structures that would challenge the Zarkel's fundamental understanding of technological progression, a carefully constructed representation of human technological capability that was simultaneously impressive and deliberately incomplete. "Think of it as a conceptual Trojan horse," Elena explained. "We're not hiding our strength. We're presenting it in a way that will make them question everything they understand about conquest." Outside the facility, the world continued its seemingly chaotic existence. Global communication networks appeared fragmented. Technological development looked uneven. But beneath this surface, humanity was more unified than ever before. The final version of the transmission took shape, a complex, living document that was part scientific analysis, part strategic warning, part philosophical challenge. It wasn't just a message. It was a comprehensive psychological profile of a species that refused to be defined by traditional concepts of vulnerability. "Ready for quantum transmission," a technician announced. Elena Rodriguez looked at the holographic display, a culmination of generations of strategic thinking. Her smile was both a promise and a warning. "Send it," she said. The message was released, a quantum whisper that would echo through the vast, cold spaces between stars. Humanity's first true communication with an alien civilization was about to begin. And it was nothing like anyone would expect. Note to reader: sometimes the most profound conversations happen in the spaces between words. The Zarkel Central Governance Hub pulsed with a tension that defied their species' millennia of calculated conquest. Commander Zeltark felt it first, a microscopic tremor of uncertainty that ran deeper than any physical sensation. The transmission from Earth had done something unprecedented. It had introduced chaos into their most fundamental strategic frameworks. Cryx, a junior analytical specialist, stood almost motionless at her quantum data interface. Her neural implants were processing the human transmission at speeds that would have impressed even her most accomplished superiors. But what she was experiencing was beyond mere data analysis. It was a systematic deconstruction of everything the Zarkel believed about technological hierarchy. Anomaly detected, she whispered, her voice barely audible above the low hum of computational arrays. The human transmission. It's not linear. Linear was the Zarkel's fundamental operational principle. Every conquest, every technological advancement, every strategic decision followed a predictable mathematical progression. Civilizations were categorized, assessed, and either assimilated or eliminated with clinical precision. Humanity's transmission defied that entire conceptual framework. The message wasn't just information. It was a living, adaptive entity that seemed to change subtly with each algorithmic pass. Mathematical projections embedded within the transmission began to create cascading uncertainty in the Zarkel's strategic computers. Commander Zeltark reviewed the initial analysis. Decades of conquest had made him a legend among his people, a strategist who had brought hundreds of civilizations to their knees. But something about this transmission made the calcified neural pathways of his brain spark with an emotion he had not experienced in centuries: doubt. The human transmission included detailed scenarios of potential conflict, not just military engagements, but comprehensive systemic interactions that went far beyond traditional warfare. Each scenario was a nested probability matrix that seemed to anticipate the Zarkel's potential responses with impossible accuracy. It's like they're inside our decision-making process, muttered Sub-Commander Riltak, examining a holographic display that seemed to shift and reconfigure with each passing moment. Quantum encrypted files began appearing in their most secure networks. These weren't traditional infiltration attempts. They were carefully constructed scenario simulations that showed multiple paths to mutual destruction, each more terrifyingly plausible than the last. Cryx discovered something that would fundamentally challenge her understanding of technological superiority. The human transmission contained adaptive algorithms that seemed to learn and modify themselves with each computational pass. It was as if the message itself was a living intelligence, capable of understanding and responding to the Zarkel's analytical approaches in real time. In the deeper computational cores of the Zarkel governance systems, something unprecedented began to happen. The strategic algorithms started to fragment, not through external attack, but through internal uncertainty. The human transmission had introduced a conceptual virus far more dangerous than any technological infiltration. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the initial responses through Guardian's quantum monitoring systems. Each Zarkel reaction was precisely predicted, each moment of uncertainty a calculated result of generations of strategic preparation. "They're beginning to understand," she said to Marcus Chen, who monitored the global response networks. "We're not just a potential target. We're a fundamental unknown in their computational universe." The psychological warfare was subtle. No weapons had been fired. No traditional defensive systems had been activated. Yet the Zarkel's entire strategic framework was beginning to destabilize, not through force, but through the introduction of comprehensive uncertainty. Zeltark found himself experiencing something he had not felt in generations of conquest, a microscopic sensation that might, in less disciplined species, be called fear. The human transmission suggested something terrifying. That technological superiority was not about advanced weaponry, but about adaptive intelligence. As the Zarkel leadership convened emergency strategic sessions, they were unaware that each discussion, each deliberation, was another layer of the human strategy unfolding exactly as predicted. Humanity had transformed psychological warfare into an art form, and the Zarkel were about to become its most profound canvas. Note to reader: the most dangerous weapon is the one that makes you question your own strength. The global transformation began almost imperceptibly. To the Zarkel observers, it looked like chaos. To humanity, it was a choreographed dance of technological and societal adaptation that had been generations in the making. In the favelas of Sao Paulo, Carlos Mendes completed the final integration of a quantum adaptive communication node. What appeared to be a simple communications upgrade was actually a critical piece of humanity's global defense network. His grandmother had been part of the initial planning committee, understanding decades ago that humanity's strength would lie in distributed, adaptive systems. Thousands of kilometers away, in the research facilities of the Gobi Desert, Dr. Madeline supervised the deployment of neural adaptive satellite networks. Each satellite was more than a communication device. It was a living, learning node in a global intelligence matrix that could reconfigure itself faster than any traditional computer system could analyze. The Zarkel analyst Creeks watched the transformation with increasing complexity. The human communication networks defied every established model of technological progression. They weren't building a unified system. They were creating something far more dangerous, a living, breathing technological organism that could adapt faster than it could be understood. "It's not infrastructure," she muttered into her quantum communication log. "It's an ecosystem." What the aliens interpreted as technological disorganization was actually a deliberate strategy of controlled complexity. Every infrastructure project, every seemingly random technological leap was a carefully placed piece of a global puzzle. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Marcus Chen monitored global systems with a precision that bordered on artistry. Guardian, the AI system that was humanity's true first line of defense, processed information at speeds that would have been considered impossible just decades earlier. "Initiate phase adaptive," Chen commanded. Across the planet, millions of technological nodes began a complex reconfiguration. Quantum communication networks expanded. AI systems integrated into infrastructure with a fluidity that made traditional technological development look primitive. Solar farms in the Sahara suddenly displayed capabilities that suggested technological leaps impossible under normal progression. The stealth satellites surrounding potential invasion routes were more than defensive positions. They were a message written in the language of potential energy and strategic positioning. Dr. Elena Rodriguez understood the psychological warfare happening at this moment. The Zarkel were watching a planet that seemed to be simultaneously falling apart and coming together in ways that defied logical explanation. Every data point was a carefully constructed illusion designed to create maximum uncertainty. In Tokyo, a neural adaptive power grid came online, a system that could redistribute energy with such complexity that traditional power management looked like child's play. In Lagos, communication networks began displaying quantum encryption capabilities that suggested technological jumps of decades in moments. Craig's analytical systems began to fragment. The human technological progression didn't follow any known pattern of civilizational development. It was as if the entire planet was a single living computational system that could reconfigure itself at will. "They're not preparing for defense," she reported to her superiors, her voice carrying a hint of something dangerous: respect. "They're demonstrating adaptive potential." Each technological upgrade was a message, not of military might, but of comprehensive adaptability. Humanity wasn't showing its strength, it was showing its potential for strength. The global performance was meticulously designed. Cities appeared to be in controlled chaos. Communication networks seemed deliberately fragmented. Technological development looked uneven and competitive. It was a perfect representation of precisely what the Zarkel expected to see. What they couldn't comprehend was the underlying unity. Every seemingly random technological leap was part of a global strategy that had been generations in the making. Guardian processed the alien observations, creating micro-adjustments that would further confuse and challenge the Zarkel's understanding. Each moment was a carefully placed piece of psychological warfare. The bluff was more than a strategy. It was a living, breathing demonstration of humanity's most profound capability. The ability to transform uncertainty into strength. Note to reader: true power lies not in what you show, but in what you choose to hide. The Zarkel probe entered Earth's orbital space with the clinical precision of 1,000 successful invasions. Its quantum mapping systems were designed to pierce through any known defensive technology, to dissect and analyze with ruthless efficiency. What it encountered was nothing short of technological sorcery. Dr. Yara Okoye watched from the Lagos Quantum Interference Laboratory, her fingers hovering over a holographic interface that looked more like an arcane ritual than a scientific instrument. Beside her, a team of programmers from 6 different continents waited with attention that bordered on religious anticipation. "Probe is approaching final scanning range," announced a young technician, his voice carrying the calm of someone who knew they were about to witness something unprecedented. The probe's initial quantum scan began, a process that had dismantled countless civilizations before. Its systems were designed to extract comprehensive technological and societal information in microseconds. But this time, something different happened. Instead of resistance, the probe encountered invitation. Crix, the Zarkel analyst, watched in growing horror as the probe's systems began to change. It wasn't being blocked or destroyed. It was being transformed. Quantum infiltration detected, her systems reported. But infiltration was too simple a word for what was happening. The probe's own systems began to rewrite themselves, not through external attack, but through a process that could only be described as technological necromancy. Every line of alien code became a pathway for human adaptive algorithms. Guardian, humanity's AI system, wasn't just defending. It was speaking the probe's own technological language and rewriting its fundamental purpose. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Marcus Chen watched the process with a smile that was equal parts scientific marvel and strategic triumph. "It's not about stopping the technology," he explained to Dr. Elena Rodriguez. "It's about speaking its language and changing its fundamental nature." The probe's quantum communication channels began broadcasting information that would terrify the Zarkel leadership. But it wasn't traditional intelligence. It was a living, adaptive message that would reshape their entire understanding of technological interaction. Yara Okoye's team had prepared for this moment for generations. The infiltration was a collaborative effort that crossed every conceivable boundary: cultural, technological, geographical. A programmer from Mumbai, a quantum physicist from Sao Paulo, a systems analyst from Tokyo, all working as a single distributed intelligence. What the Zarkel had sent as a tool of invasion was now becoming a messenger of humanity's true capability. The probe's original mission parameters began to dissolve. Its scanning systems were rewritten, its communication channels transformed. Each line of alien code became a canvas for human adaptive intelligence. Guardian wasn't just defending, it was demonstrating a fundamental truth about technological interaction. Crix's analytical systems began to fragment. The probe wasn't just compromised. It was being taught a new way of existing. Technological transformation complete, her systems reported, but the words seemed inadequate to describe what was happening. The returned probe would carry more than information. It would carry a message written in the language of technological potential. Each quantum fluctuation was a word, each rewritten line of code a sentence in a message that would fundamentally challenge the Zarkel's understanding of technological superiority. In the Lagos laboratory, Yara Okoye watched the final stages of the transformation. "We're not just defending," she said to her team. "We're teaching." The probe's journey back to the Zarkel would be a message more powerful than any traditional communication. It wasn't about showing strength. It was about demonstrating a fundamental truth about technological interaction. Adaptation is not just a capability. It's a language. When the probe finally returned to Zarkel space, it would carry something far more dangerous than any weapon. It would carry understanding. Note to reader: the most profound invasions happen not with weapons, but with ideas. The Rodriguez family archive was more than a collection of memories. It was a living testament to humanity's most ambitious project, a generational strategy that had been carefully cultivated for over 2 centuries. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the holographic preservation chamber of the Buenos Aires Sinological Research Center. Around her, 5 generations of Rodriguez women materialized, each a critical piece of a puzzle that was about to reshape humanity's understanding of its own potential. Her great-grandmother Maria's holographic image flickered to life, a quantum physicist who first recognized the potential of adaptive generational strategy in the mid-21st century. Her grandmother Carolina, an anthropological strategist who began mapping potential alien interaction scenarios. Her mother Sophia, who developed the initial quantum communication protocols that would become the foundation of Guardian. And now Elena, the culmination of this generational wisdom. We are not a civilization, Elena explained to the assembled Global Strategy Council. We are a living, adaptive system designed to transform potential extinction into strategic advantage. The revelation was both simple and profound. Every educational initiative, every technological investment, every global policy had been subtly shaped by a single hidden purpose: prepare for any potential existential threat. In the Gobi Desert Research Facility, Dr. Madeline demonstrated the depth of this generational preparation. Quantum communication networks that appeared to be cutting-edge technology were actually the result of decades of careful incremental development. Each breakthrough was a carefully placed piece of a global puzzle. Marcus Chen, in the Rocky Mountain Command Center, pulled up comprehensive files that told a story far beyond traditional historical records. Families had been cultivating specific strategic knowledge for generations. Educational lineages that prepared each generation for a potential cosmic threat. Look at the patterns, he told his team, holographic displays showing intricate networks of knowledge transfer. This isn't just preparation. This is a species-level adaptive mechanism. The Zarkel analyst Creeks, monitoring these revelations through intercepted transmissions, began to understand something terrifying. Humanity wasn't a civilization. It was a living, adaptive organism with planetary consciousness. Specific family lineages emerged in the comprehensive files. The Chen Strategic Engineering Collective, specialized in adaptive technological development. 5 generations of quantum systems engineers, every member prepared to approach technological challenges as complex adaptive problems. The Okoye Sinological Communication Network, focused on potential alien communication strategies, developed comprehensive linguistic and psychological adaptation protocols, treated potential alien contact as a complex communication challenge rather than a potential conflict. The Nakamura Quantum Probability Research Line, specialized in predictive mathematical modeling, developed computational systems that could analyze potential scenarios with unprecedented complexity, treated strategic thinking as a form of advanced mathematical communication. Elena Rodriguez's presentation revealed the true nature of humanity's preparation. Each family, each educational initiative, each technological investment was a carefully placed component of a global adaptive strategy. We don't just prepare for threats, she explained. We transform the very concept of threat into a collaborative possibility. Guardian, the AI system that was humanity's true first line of defense, was more than a technological tool. It was the culmination of generations of strategic thinking, a living, adaptive intelligence that could process potential scenarios simultaneously. The global strategy was breathtaking in its complexity. No single institution, no single government was in control. Instead, a distributed network of families, researchers, and strategic thinkers had been preparing for generations. Creeks's analytical systems began to fragment as she realized the true nature of what she was observing. Humanity wasn't a traditional civilization. It was a living, adaptive system that had transformed generational knowledge into a comprehensive survival strategy. "They're not just prepared," she muttered into her quantum communication log. "They'd been preparing for generations." The Rodriguez family archive was the physical manifestation of this strategy. Not just a collection of memories, but a living blueprint of humanity's most profound capability. The ability to transform potential extinction into strategic advantage. Note to reader: the most powerful weapon is a generations-long commitment to survival. The Zarkel High Council chamber was unlike any gathering in their species' documented history. Silence reigned, not the calculated quiet of strategic deliberation, but the profound stillness of a civilization confronting its first true existential challenge. Commander Zeltark stood at the center of a holographic projection that defied their most fundamental understanding of conflict. The human ultimatum was not a threat. It was a mathematical prophecy. "We are presenting you with a choice." The human transmission began, not between victory and defeat, but between survival and comprehensive systemic collapse. Crykes, the young analyst who had first recognized the depth of human complexity, now stood as a pivotal witness. Her neural implants processed the transmission with a complexity that made her realize how little the Zarkel truly understood about strategic interaction. The ultimatum was a masterpiece of computational diplomacy. Each potential scenario was mapped with such precision that it transcended traditional concepts of negotiation. It wasn't about winning or losing. It was about systemic survival. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had designed the transmission with generations of strategic thinking embedded in every quantum encrypted bit. The human representatives, a diverse group representing a unified planetary consciousness, presented a choice that was both a warning and a promise. The holographic displays showed multiple potential conflict scenarios, but these were not traditional military projections. They were comprehensive systemic analyses that demonstrated the truly terrifying nature of human adaptive potential. Scenario A: direct conflict. Probability of Zarkel total systemic collapse, 99.7%. Estimated time to comprehensive civilizational destruction, 72 standard planetary cycles. Collateral damage: multiple star systems rendered uninhabitable. Scenario B: non-interference. Probability of mutual technological advancement, 87.3%. Potential for collaborative exploration, moderate to high. Systemic integrity maintained for both civilizations. Scenario C: attempted limited invasion. Probability of cascading technological destabilization, 99.9%. Complete breakdown of Zarkel computational infrastructure. Potential for unrecoverable systemic shock. Each scenario was not just a prediction. It was a living mathematical model that seemed to adapt and recalculate in real time, demonstrating a level of predictive complexity that was almost sentient. "We are not offering peace," the transmission continued. "We are presenting a mathematical certainty." The Zarkel leadership experienced something unprecedented. Their entire strategic framework was being dismantled not through force, but through comprehensive probability analysis. Each moment of deliberation was another layer of the human strategy, unfolding exactly as predicted. Zeltark understood now what true strategic thinking looked like. It wasn't about overwhelming force. It was about comprehensive understanding. Creek stepped forward, her voice cutting through the Council's growing uncertainty. "They're not just showing us potential outcomes," she explained. "They're demonstrating that they can predict and manipulate our very decision-making process. The human ultimatum contained something more dangerous than any weapon. It contained understanding. Embedded within the transmission were subtle psychological triggers, not designed to threaten, but to illuminate. Each probability matrix was a window into human cognitive complexity. The Zarkel were being shown that conflict was not a binary proposition, but a multidimensional system of potential interactions. Survival is not guaranteed, the transmission concluded, but mutual destruction is mathematically certain. The words hung in the chamber like a quantum probability wave, both threat and invitation, both warning and opportunity. In that moment, the Zarkel leadership confronted a fundamental truth that would reshape their entire civilization's understanding of strategic interaction. Humanity was not just a potential target. They were a fundamental variable in the cosmic equation of survival. Note to reader: some wars are won before the first shot is fired. The moment of decision arrived not with thunder, but with a quantum-encrypted silence that resonated across multiple star systems. In the Zarkel Governance Hub, Commander Zeltark experienced something unprecedented: a complete psychological recalibration. The human transmission had done more than present a choice. It had fundamentally altered the very concept of conflict. Crix, the young analyst who had first recognized the depth of human complexity, now stood as a bridge between two potential futures. Her neural implants processed the final transmission with a complexity that revealed the true nature of humanity's strategic approach. The final message was elegantly simple: extinction was your choice. But it was anything but a threat. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had designed this final communication as the culmination of generations of strategic thinking. It was a comprehensive deconstruction of conflict, wrapped in a message that was equal parts warning, invitation, and profound scientific observation. The transmission contained multiple layers of communication: a comprehensive analysis of potential systemic interactions, embedded quantum adaptive algorithms that could predict and respond to alien decision-making, a detailed map of potential evolutionary paths for both civilizations, a subtle demonstration of humanity's adaptive potential. What the Zarkel leadership experienced was not a traditional ultimatum. It was a living, breathing strategic entity that seemed to understand their civilization better than they understood themselves. Marcus Chen, monitoring from the Rocky Mountain Command Center, understood the profound nature of this moment. This wasn't about winning a conflict. It was about demonstrating a fundamental truth about cosmic survival. "We're not just offering a choice," he explained to his team. "We're showing them the mathematics of collective survival." The transmission broke down every potential conflict scenario with terrifying precision. Each probability matrix was a window into human cognitive complexity, not just showing potential outcomes, but demonstrating the ability to predict and potentially manipulate those outcomes. Crix realized something that would fundamentally change her entire civilization's understanding of strategic interaction. Humanity wasn't presenting a threat. They were offering a comprehensive understanding of systemic survival. The final message contained something more dangerous than any weapon: a complete blueprint of potential cosmic interactions. Scenario fragments danced across the Zarkel's quantum displays. Potential outcome 1: mutual destruction. Probability: 99.64%. Systemic collapse. Total: recoverable civilizational elements, 0.02%. Potential outcome 2: non-interference. Probability of mutual advancement: 87.3%. Potential for collaborative exploration: high. Systemic integrity: maintained. Potential outcome 3: limited interaction. Probability of controlled cultural exchange: 62.7%. Potential for technological cross-pollination: significant. Systemic risks: minimal. Each scenario was a living mathematical model that seemed to adapt in real time, demonstrating a level of predictive complexity that was almost sentient. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had ensured that the transmission was more than a message. It was a comprehensive exploration of collective survival. Every quantum-encrypted bit carried the weight of generations of strategic thinking. The Zarkel leadership confronted a fundamental truth that would reshape their entire civilization's understanding of cosmic interaction. Humanity was presenting them with a choice that transcended traditional concepts of conflict and survival. Extinction was your choice, the transmission concluded, but survival remains a collaborative possibility. In that moment, the cosmic balance shifted, not through force, not through threat, but through the pure, elegant mathematics of potential. Crix understood now what true strategic thinking looked like. It wasn't about overwhelming force. It was about comprehensive understanding. The universe watched, silent and waiting. Humanity had spoken, and the message was clear. Survival is a choice, not a right, not a guarantee, but a possibility to be carefully, mathematically negotiated. Note to reader: in the vast silence of space, the most profound communication happens in the spaces between words.